Hello children, now we are going to learn a new concept of social studies, third chapter, that is production and employment. What is production? What are the things to be produced? Production comes under which category? What type of production it is? Because we have many things to be produced. Many things need to be produced as well as the production basis. So, what is this production mean? And how it is related to employment? How these two are interlinked with each other? Or what is the relation between these two, production and employment? That we are going to see in this particular chapter, production and employment. So, first of all, we will start with previous knowledge of us. Just we will test ourselves. What we have been learned in our 8th, 9th standard about this production and employment. Do you people remember that you have been learned about the occupational structure? What is occupational structure? Occupation is about what we do. Teaching is my occupation. I earn money by doing my occupation. That means people do many work. Okay, the work which they do for making a livelihood to earn money, that we call as a occupation. So here we have different types of occupations, and that occupation has a structure. What is that occupational structure? The occupational structure is that it has divided into three different categories. The first one, what we call, on what basis it has been divided or categorized based on the production itself, the occupational structure has categorized into three main categories. What are the three main categories? The one is primary sector, then secondary sector, and then tertiary sector. Tertiary or service sector we call it. Total three sectors what we have in our occupational structure. This already we have learnt in our 8th as well as in your 9th standard. Now here in 10th standard we will be learning in detail about these three different sectors, primary, secondary and tertiary sector. In detail, and how they have been produced, what type of goods are produced in them, why they have been falls under this primary, secondary and tertiary or the service sector we will learn. So first of all, before going to the topic, so we have been learned that these primary, secondary and tertiary sectors are the things which categorizes the people based on their occupation. So now let us categorize. Here in and around ourselves we have many people. So under what category they falls? Say for example, if we take a farmer. Farmer comes under which sector or which category? And farmer, and the next what we have is maybe a cloth maker or shoemaker, then maybe a vegetable vendor or fruit vendor, or maybe a mobile repair person, maybe someone. So the people around you, just you start categorizing from morning to evening, day to day, in our day to day life, whoever we comes across in our day to day life activities, we come across many people. Just you try to categorize them. Okay, when you move out of a school, if you find a person selling milk, you try to categorize which sector does he comes. There is a person who is selling vegetables, then categorize which sector he belongs to. Then maybe a farmer, maybe a shopkeeper, maybe a tailor, maybe a bookseller, or maybe what it might be, maybe your teacher, whoever it might be. Just categorize them, which category or which sector they falls. Then you will get an idea why. Then when you get an idea which sector they belongs to, then you ask a question to yourself, why they falls under that sector. Okay, so you do that task afterwards. Now we'll come and we'll discuss about how and why they falls under that particular sector. First we'll discuss something about primary sector. What is this primary sector? Primary means the basics. Basic level. We say primary school. So what is this primary school? That means lower classes, like first, second, third, they are called as primary classes. That means the basic. Primary things we say. We need rice for making biryani. That's a primary thing. That is the basic thing. The same way here, primary things, primary sector means the basic sector. What are the things that comes under this? So before going to the things which comes under that, let us discuss. Take an example. What are the primary things we require? Basic requirements of a human being. Food, cloth, shelter. The most important one is food. Because without clothes, we can survive. Without shelter, we can survive. But without food, we cannot survive. Food in the sense, all types of food. Even the water, food, cloth, be all the food comes under this food category. So we get food from agriculture sector. Okay, directly food means the raw material of the food we get from the agriculture sector. So the primary sector consists of agriculture and allied activities of agriculture. What is this allied activities again? Agriculture, okay, we know farming, harvesting, cultivation, all these things we call as agriculture. Then what are these allied activities? Allied means related, in contact, in group. So the allied activities, agricultural related activities we call as allied activities of agriculture. In that, what are the things we get is farming, dairy farms, fisheries, poultry farms, and then mining also falls under this primary sector. Because, why we calling them on primary sectors? Because here, these are the sector which produces goods based on the usage of the natural resources like sunlight, water, and rainfall or wind, whatever you call it. So sunlight, water, wind. Based on these three, by making use of these three natural resources, we produce the products in the primary sector. Maybe directly or indirectly, we depend on natural resources, and that is compulsory, that is required. And what we produce here is raw material or the intermediate goods for some other sector or some other industry. So we call it as a primary sector or a raw material supplier, because we get all sort of raw materials from the primary sector. So this is all about your primary sector. So primary sector is the basic sector, and here we get the things of agriculture, and allied activities of agriculture will fall under the primary sector. Next, what we have is secondary sector. As I said, basic requirements of human beings, food, and next is cloth. The same way, where cloth is manufactured? In agricultural fields? No, in an industry. So industries comes under the secondary sector. So industries means a place where something is manufactured. A place something is manufactured. Okay, by making use of the raw material, we produce some goods and services that we call as a secondary sector or the industrial sector. We call secondary sector as the industrial sector or secondary sector. Okay, because goods are raw material are brought, and that intermediate goods will be turned into finished products by undergoing some mechanical changes by making use of machines and tools. These we call as a secondary sector or industrial sector, and even we can call it as a manufacturing sector also. Next, what we have is tertiary sector. Tertiary sector in the sense which we call as a service sector. The name itself denotes service. That means the sectors, the categories wherever we get a service, that we call as our tertiary sector. Like production of raw materials, production of finished goods, and the next one is the service. That means like transportation, communication, health, education, telecommunications, all sort of these communication. That means wherever, even banking, wherever we have a person to serve us or maybe a machine to serve us, that we call as a service sector or the tertiary sector. So these are the three basic occupational structures of any of the economy in the world: primary, secondary, and tertiary sector. So about these in detail we will be learning in our upcoming topics. So in our previous lecture we have learned about the occupational structure as well as the sectors of Indian economy. What are the sectors, how they work, what are the things included in that we have been learned. Now we will be learning something about which we call as gross domestic product. In short form we call it as GDP. Gross domestic product. Actually, what is this GDP? GDP is that thing which shows the size of our economy. It shows us the size of our economy. Whether the economy is a aggregate economy or a microeconomy or macroeconomy, that is shown by the GDP. Whether an economy of a country is developing or not developing, what is the size of that economy, that we will be coming to know and we will be learning in this particular. This shows about the size of our economy, GDP, gross domestic product. So how this will be calculated? If you people remember, in our previous lesson we have discussed about average income or per capita income, which is calculated by total income of a country divided by total population of a country. The same way here GDP is also calculated in such a way. Even for that we have a mechanism. So we call the Indian GDP. Okay, GDP in India is calculated through a process called mammoth process. Okay, which is called as a large, aggregate, and huge. Okay, and the central finance ministry of our country will be calculating this GDP every year with the help of the state governments as well as the union territories and some organizations in states as well as in the union territories. So, how this GDP will be calculated? So, GDP will be calculated as we have been said that there is a three sectors, namely primary, secondary and tertiary or the service sector. In these three sectors, service, something is produced. Okay, goods and services are produced in these three sectors. Like, say for example, in primary sector, agriculture and its allied activities produce some goods, which are the usage in as a raw material or maybe as a finished product or one or the other way in other sector by the people directly or indirectly. Secondary sector, some goods are turned from raw material to finished goods for the purpose or to meet our needs and requirements. And then service sector, tertiary sector or the service sector, it produces different types of services which we utilize in our day-to-day life activities. So all these production will be carried out throughout the country at different places in different ways. So all these need to be taken into account to calculate the GDP. How will we take it? So the GDP will be calculated by the value of final goods of each sector within a country. Why we are calling within a country? Because we said gross domestic product. Domestic product means within the country, because we have many of the Indian industries which are established or producing some products abroad in other countries also. So we consider only the products which are manufactured within the country, inside the country, maybe in different states or union territories within a year. So the value of final goods of all the three sectors produced within the country in an year, that value is considered as a GDP of our country. So previously in the year of 2009 and 10, the GDP growth rate was 9.23%, whereas in last consecutive 2 years, it was 7% of the growth was seen in GDP, Indian GDP. And Indian GDP is one among the fastest growing GDPs in the world because of many changes which have been happening in all the three sectors. What are the changes happening here? How do we come to know about these changes? These changes will come to know through our lifestyle, through our needs, through our demands, because day by day the demands of a human being are increasing. The needs of the human being are increasing. In basic, earlier we used to have only three categories in basic requirements or the needs: food, cloth and shelter. Now the basics have been increased. The number of basic requirements or the needs have been increased. Say, if I give an example, here many of you might be there who can survive without eating food. You may not be interested to eat food. You may not feel hungry. So maybe a time or maybe in a day you may not eat proper food. But if you are at home, definitely you cannot survive or you will not be without making use of your social networks, maybe through mobile or PCs or laptops or tabs or whatever it might be. So that means it has become as a primary usage. That is the thing. That means here needs have been become as a demand on requirements. So these are number of sources increased. So the production in all the three sectors also increased. How it has been increased? What it has been increased? Where it has been increased? What is the effect of this increase of production in the economy? Whether it has been resulted in any of the economic growth or economic development of our country or not, whether they had its influence or not, whether it is a positive development or not, any neutral or any negative effects on the development of our economy, all the things we will be learning in our upcoming topics. But basically, GDP is that which shows the size of an economy. So the Indian GDP is calculated through a process called Mammoth process, calculated by the Central Finance Ministry, and here GDP is the value of final goods in all the three sectors within the country in an year. This we call as a GDP. So the final products. What are the final products actually? Final products are that which is ready to use by the consumer. Say for example, I wanted to buy a biscuit. So biscuit is manufactured with flour, sugar, then many more other things are added in that, like maybe butter, maybe or some other dry fruits, or maybe blah blah. Many might be used, maybe chocos. So in this manufacture of biscuit, directly I will get a biscuit in the form of biscuit and I will be consuming that. That was final product. But in the manufacturing of biscuit, all the raw material which have been used I am not going to that people and I am not purchasing the raw material. It is some other who is purchasing that and making it into final product. So the raw material of this is like maybe wheat or maybe sugarcane or maybe some other products. So all that are not considered. The value of that goods are not considered. The value of only final good is considered. Say for example, I purchased a pen. Okay, so I paid money for pen. In that, the money of the ink, nib, caps, everything is included. The same way, even the value of biscuit includes the value of all the raw material which has been utilized in the manufacturing of that. So that's why we consider only the final product. If we don't consider only final product, then we need to pay more money for the product. Say for example, if we segregate the raw materials and the final product, then we need to pay money for the raw material as well as for the final product. Say for example, the wheat is for 10 rupees per kg, sugar is 40 rupees per kg, and then biscuit is of 60 rupees packet. Then total it is of near about 40 plus 10 plus 60. Total it is 110 rupees. So what I need to pay to buy a biscuit? If I segregate the products and pay money, that's why I'll count only the final product, that is biscuit. So I'll pay only 60 rupees. So like this, the final value of final goods will be calculated in a GDP, and that shows the growth rate or the size of the economy of any country. So in our previous topic, we have discussed about the GDP and how GDP will be calculated, how we come to know the GDP that we have discussed. Now we will discuss about the comparison of sectors from one sector to another sector and the changing of importance. So where it is changing the importance, how it is changing importance, and how do we compare the sectors, that we learn in this particular lecture. So firstly, if we see the three sectors, primary, secondary and tertiary sector, these three sectors, they have their own importance. So now if we say which sector is more important, which sector is not so important, and which sector may or may not be, we can, even if that sector is there or not there, we can survive. There is no problem to other sectors. Do we have anything like that? Actually children, here we don't have that option. All the three sectors are equally important. One of my friends said primary sector is most important because we get all the food range from that. But if there is no secondary sector, what is the use of producing something? I'll give you an example. I am a person, a farmer who produces sugarcane as well as cotton. I have 100 acres of land. In that, 50 acres of land I will be producing cotton and 50 acres of land I will be producing sugarcane. Okay, so I have been sown the seeds, I got the crop. Now, if there is no person to purchase this sugarcane as well as the cotton, because these two are the raw materials, to make use of these two things, if there is no second person, what I will be doing with this? What is the use of my production? It's of no use. I cannot utilize that much of raw material or that much of product for my own purpose, individual purpose. So it's of no use. Okay, I have a second person who can purchase my sugarcane as well as my cotton from me. Okay, the 50 acres of sugarcane and 50 acres of cotton has been purchased by a second person. If that person has been purchased, how will he take that material from my field to his industry or his factory where he do something with this raw material? That means both of us require a third person whom we call as a tertiary sector, because to transport the goods from my place to his place. So actually here we are the three people. Myself considered as a primary sector, second person as a secondary sector, and third person as a tertiary sector or the service sector. That means here I cannot survive without the existence of these two, second and third person. And second person cannot survive without the existence of first and third person. And third person cannot survive without the existence of the first and second person. That means all the three of us are interlinked with each other. That means we cannot survive, we cannot exist without the existence of the other one. The same way, one sector cannot survive without the existence of the other sector. All the three sectors are equally important. We cannot give more priority to any one sector and we cannot ignore the other sector because they are interconnected or interlinked with each other for the existence. So in this way we can compare the sectors and we can say no one sector is more important or no other sector is not so important. All the three sectors are equally important in their own places respectively. And next, here the changing of importance. Changing of importance. See, the importance of the sectors have been changed when compared to the previous decades. Say, for example, if you take in the years of 1970s and 71, the people who depend on agriculture, the people who used to go with agriculture and the production in the agriculture sector used to be more. When we compare the same thing with 2010 and 11, the scenario has been changed. So here we can take example. See, myself, I am working as a teacher and I am working in which sector? Secondary sector? Primary? No. Tertiary sector, what we call as service sector. Alright. So now, my father used to be in a secondary sector because we had a small industry, so he used to work in that industry. So he used to be belongs to a secondary sector. But my grandfather, it is before 25 years, so he was a farmer. We had some 20 acres of land where he used to go with the farming activities. So slowly my father has deviated from that primary sector to secondary, and myself and even my brothers, all of us have been completely shifted or segregated, diverted ourselves from primary sector to tertiary sector. There are many reasons why we have been diverted, why we have been shifted from primary to tertiary. Because at that time we used to have very good water resources, water facilities, and very good usage of land used to be done. But now there is a scarcity of water. There is no water in our field. So without water we cannot cultivate the field. So we are not going with the agricultural work, and moreover we doesn't know the activities of the agriculture because we are not into that. Because my father was also not into that. The same way, the importance to the sectors have been shifted. This may be the first reason. And second thing is, here, the production in all the three sectors have been implemented. Increased. The production in all the three sectors have been increased. How much it has been increased? What is the effect? How much it might be the useful? All these things we will be learning in the upcoming topics. The most important thing is, first if we discuss about the primary sector. Earlier, majority of the people, near about 70% of the production, 70% of the GDP, and majority share in contribution of the GDP also used to be from the primary sector. But now the scenario has been changing day by day. Even till today, the primary sector stands first in the contribution to the GDP as well as in the provision or providing the employment opportunities for the people. But the other sectors also have been grown along with this sector. What is the reason? What might be the reason? Because the main reason is the development which has been occurred in the primary sector. It has been increased the production. With the increased production in the agriculture sector, there is a need to develop the secondary sector also. With the development of the primary and secondary sector, even the tertiary sector also has been increased. This is the first thing. Second thing is, when production has been increased in primary and secondary sector, then people has been also getting more and more money. They are increasing the standard of living. When people get more and more money, they wanted to have a standard of living to be increased. When their standard to be increased, then obviously they prefer to take the services from the tertiary sector, like maybe rich clothes, luxurious things, many of the things to be utilized, and even the basic thing. Generally, people go out for the dinners, lunch, and many more other parties. If we don't have money, we never goes out for the dinners or other things. So this is the second reason. And third one is, with the growth in the primary secondary sector, there is a growth in tertiary sector also. With these growth in the tertiary sector and the basic services which need to be provided by the government, like transport, health and education, even that things also have been government, as it is basic duty or responsibility of the government to provide, they are providing them according to the need and requirement of the people, to make the people satisfied or to meet the requirement of the people. So, with the growth or development in these three sectors also, transport, communication, health and as well as education also. With the increase or development in these three sectors, the importance of the tertiary sector has been increased. And even we have many other things which falls under tertiary sector. Day by day the usage of communication. Earlier communication means we used to have postal, maybe letters, telegraphs. And very rarely we used to use telephone, which we used to call as landline phone. But nowadays, communication has been spread in many ways. We can not, even the fingers are not sufficient to say the different types of communication what we have. Say for example, we can take maybe WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, Insta and more many. So like this, that means within a fraction of seconds, people are in touch with the world. In and around the world we are in touch and we are communicating with the people online as well as offline. So all these developments in the technology as well as education, health and many more other factors have been given importance to the tertiary sector, and the shift has been taken from primary secondary to tertiary sector because the people are day by day becoming more and more fascinating and diverting themselves, and even the growth in these also have been increased. But as I said you people earlier, even till today, primary sector stands first in providing employment, because the people who require work or who require employment, they are ready to work. But if you need to get employment in secondary or tertiary sector, you need to have proper skills, knowledge about the things which are utilized or used in that particular sectors. Without that, you cannot be employed over there. Whereas agriculture, always it is ready to serve the people who are ready to work in the agricultural sector. And when compared to the growth rates, say for example, agriculture has been increased in production, along with that, even its employment also going on par with that. Whereas secondary sector, it has been increased 8 times, whereas the production or the employment in that production increased 8 times, but employment increased only 3 times, 2.5 times, not even 3 times. Whereas in tertiary sector, the production has been increased 11 times when compared to past 30 years, but the employment has been not even 2% increased, because it requires skills, talent and many more other things. And moreover here, machines replaced man because of the technology. That's also one of the reasons where we are not employed more and more in the tertiary sector. So this is about the changing or the diverting, importance of the sector from one sector to another sector. A shift has been taken. This shift is historical shift, we can say. Why we are calling it as a historical shift? Because within a short period of time period, that is some 30 to 40 years of time period, country like India, which used to be called as an agricultural country, has been took a shift from primary sector to tertiary as well as the secondary sector. Even that data as well as the table also have been given in your textbook. So once if you refer that, then even you will get a clear idea about the picture, how the shift has been taken and how much difference it has been happened and how it has been improved or developed in that particular sector. So you can see. In our previous topic, we have learned about the change or the shift in the sectors of the economy, Indian economy particularly. The shift has been taken from primary to secondary as well as to the tertiary. That would be called as historical change or the historical shift. So now we learn about the importance of the employment in India. Actually, we know that India is called or known as agricultural country across the world. Even Britishers once described it as a granary of the world. And even many of the crops takes birth in India. Cotton is originated. The birthplace of cotton is India. India is a motherland of cotton. And we will know it. One more surprising thing is Arabica, a coffee which has been brought actually from the Arabian countries, from the Britishers. But today we are the largest producer of that particular coffee. So that importance or that mark we have in the international arena about the agriculture sector of our country. The same way, here India being an agricultural country, 70% of its population depends on agriculture for their livelihood. That is in the year of 1970-71. And even till today, more than 50% of the population are engaged or employed in agricultural sector or the allied activities of the agricultural sector, that is the primary sector. So here, this primary sector is providing such a huge employment. Then why still we have unemployment in our country? Because we have some of the reasons. Particularly, if you take secondary sector, if you need to get unemployment in the secondary sector, you need to be known with the well-versed with the machines, tools, as well as the knowledge of the machines and tools. And particularly, first foremost important thing is you need to be ready to work in that particular sector. And third one, the tertiary sector. If you need to work in the tertiary sector, well, you need to have the skills, knowledge, and even the other required qualifications to work in the tertiary sector. Even a vegetable vendor also comes under the tertiary sector. But here, majorly in our country, as we said, India is an agricultural country, majority of the people do or commit a mistake. That is, say for example, if you take example of a person, Mr. X. Okay, Mr. X has 2 acres of land and his family members are total 5 members are in his family. So, these 2 acres of land is the only livelihood for this total 5 members of the family. And that also, these 2 acres are also rain-fed agricultural land it is. That means they don't have any water facilities, no irrigation facilities. Then how they will be surviving means only rain-fed crops will be sown and they depend only on the rainfall for their cultivation in their 2 acres of land. So actually in these 2 acres of land throughout the year only 2 people are required to work. But all the 5 members of Mr. X family goes to this particular land and they works there. So everyone seems to be very busy working, but actually they are not working properly or up to their maximum extent. That means they are not working up to full potential. Say for example, here I have some books, some 4 books. I called one boy to take these 4 books, but he called another 3 boys and one carrying one book. Do you feel that they are doing that work? How many people can do that work? Only one. But actually they are engaged, another 3, total 4 are involved in taking their books. That means they are not working up to full of their potential. They are not working up to his capacity. The same thing is happening with the agriculture also. We call this situation as under unemployment or disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment or under unemployment. Mostly we can find this in agricultural sector. Now, how to overcome this? See, Mr. X family has 5 members. So 2 members can go to work in some other's field as a labor so that they get some money, which adds to their family income, that is the income from that 2 acres of land. These extra also will be added so that their lifestyle can be increased, their lives can be changed, and some betterment can happen in their lives. Or else, if these 2 people, 2 are sufficient in this field, okay, let 3 people work here, and the 2 people can go for other work, maybe working in any factory or nearby industries or any other things. So that adds to the income of the family, and which makes a better life or which gives a better opportunities or standard of living in their life. But actually people are not ready for that because of some of the reasons. The first thing is they may not find any other employment opportunities, and the other thing is that they may not be ready to migrate to the place where they have the industries or the sector, because mostly in the urban centers we have industries and other employment opportunities. So they may not be ready to go there, or they may not have knowledge how to go there, what to do and what work to be done, because they are not well versed with any of the thing. Maybe lack of education, maybe lack of skills, or maybe lack of knowledge about different type tools and machines. So all these may be many problems which creates. Because of that, disguised or under unemployment can be seen in our country. And next, people are engaged in secondary sector, and again in secondary sector we have some problem. Like here we have different types of workers like permanent workers, temporary workers and casual workers. So based on this, again the payments and unemployment can be generated. Service sector, actually this is a largest sector and provides n number of opportunities, employment opportunities, because service sector means self-service. Even if you are not getting any job, any work, even you can buy by spending some little bit of amount, by spending that or by investing a little amount, you can start your own business, like maybe a vegetable vendor, maybe a fruit vendor, or maybe a newspaper vendor, or maybe something like that. That means you can provide your own employment. That is the advantage of the tertiary sector. So based on these 3 different types of situations, people are employed and some of the people are unemployed, and some are employed but underemployed or disguised unemployed. This is the condition of a country. That means the employment situation. But even till today, private sector stands first in providing employment, and then secondary sector, and then the tertiary sector. These 3 sectors has their own impact on the employment generation as well as in the work of the people and their lifestyles. Next chapter, in next topic, we will be learning something about the different categories and their usage, as well as how these sectors are interlinked. We have been learned in our previous topic. In upcoming topic, we will be learning something about how these sectors can be utilized, how people can transform themselves into one sector to another sector. This we will be seeing in our next topic. Now, in this lecture, we will learn something about, already we have been discussed in our previous topic, about the employment opportunities. About the same thing in detail we will learn in this particular lecture. About, particularly, we have discussed different types of employment like disguised, under unemployment, agricultural employment, secondary employment, as well as tertiary sector employment. These are categorized again into 2 different categories. They are organized and unorganized. What is this organized and unorganized? Organized sector and unorganized sector. These are the 2 important sectors which all the occupation structure falls under these sectors. What is this actually? Organized and unorganized sector. They are the 2 different sectors which deals with the workers. What type of workers? Say for example, organized sector. Myself, I am a school teacher, and myself I falls under organized sector. Okay, nowadays almost majority of the private sector, private institutions or private sector works under, in some conditions, not always, in some conditions maybe unorganized way or unorganized sector they may fall, but generally I falls under organized sector. Why organized sector? Because everything is organized here. The production, distribution and wages, everything is fixed and proper distribution is there in a planned way. That's why we call it as an organized sector, because my salary is fixed. Okay, so whatever it is, my salary is fixed. Then fixed working hours, my timings also, what to what time. Then I will have some other benefits like paid leaves, sick leaves, or medical facilities, transportation, or TAs, or pensions. Like this, we have different types of facilities which are provided to me because I am working in an organized sector. Then what about unorganized sector? Unorganized sector is that sector where the production and distribution is not organized in a proper way, which doesn't follow any definite pattern, or which doesn't follow any laws or any rules. Okay, organized sector follows a law which has been set by the Indian Constitution according to the Act of the Workers, Labour Act. Okay, according to that it follows that act as well as the laws, and according to the laws, organized sector works. Whereas unorganized sector works beyond the laws, or they doesn't follow any law or act. That is the reason we call it as unorganized, because there the actual income, the income is not fixed. That means today if any of the person require a worker, he is ready to pay whatever he demands. When he doesn't require a worker, then he don't pay even the basic minimum average salary or wage also, because there is no demand for the worker at that particular juncture. If demand is there, then they pay how much they want. So there is no fixed amount of salary. Then fixed amount of working hours, no fixed amount of working hours. If sometimes, say for example, I called a painter, I asked him to paint my house. He said okay, and I paid him, and he said he'll be charging the money according to the day wise. So I wanted to complete all the painting work in a single day, because if second day he comes, I need to pay more money. So I asked him to paint only in a single day. So he started at 6 o'clock in the morning until late night, till 11 o'clock in the night, he had been painted there. So no fixed working hours and no special allowances, like no paid leaves. If he comes to work, he will be paid. If he is not there, no one will pay him, because it is not organized and he is not working in any organization. Okay, and no other benefits like maybe medical facilities or transport or pension or TA, DA, no other type of any allowances cannot be provided. So the workers in unorganized sector are exploited in many ways. So there is a need to protect the workers in unorganized sectors. How to protect them? The first thing is there need to be a minimum fixed amount of wages, that is the salaries. Second thing is fixed working hours need to be there, and some other benefits like may not be the paid leaves, but at least paid medical leaves in case of emergency and required, and then some of the other basic medical facilities, and maybe some health insurances, and even some other basic minimum facilities need to be provided for them, along with the fixed amount of salaries and fixed working hours. And even they need to follow the laws according to the labor laws, and strict implementation of the labor laws need to be seen even in the unorganized sector, so that the workers in the unorganized sector can be protected and they cannot be exploited more and more by the capitalists or the industrialists, or maybe the owners who are engaging them on the work. And even there need to be strict laws to be implemented even for the wages as well as for the working hours also. So in this way we can have the organized as well as unorganized. In organized sector we can take examples of hospitals, schools, and any of the other employees, or the like employees of the government service, and even many other people. Unorganized sector we can take the people of maybe a construction worker, or maybe a painting worker, or maybe a mechanic, or maybe any other one, or maybe a casual labor in a factory or industry. We call all of them as a unorganized sector workers. Now, the other next what we have over here is, after these organized and unorganized sector, then what more we have to learn, what more we need to know about the economical sectors. Here what we have is just what type of sectors, what type of people, the ownership they exist. Here we have different types of ownerships like private, public, as well as joint. What is this public? Public is the ownership which is owned by the government. Government takes care of this public ownership, and the government will be responsible for that. And these establishment will be for the welfare and development of the people, but not for the profit maximization. Whereas private ownership, which is owned by an individual, or maybe group, or maybe firm, or maybe organization, which is owned by the private people, and the motto of that, or the main aim of the organization is to earn more and more money and profit maximization. Whereas joint, which has been established under both private as well as the government sector, both together will be establishing a particular organization that we call as a joint sector. Moreover, in our country, we have more and more public as well as the private sector. In public sector, you can take example of BSNL or any other organization which is run by the government, maybe the Indian Railways, this type of organization. Whereas in private organization, you can take examples of Tata's or Reliance or any other group which is owned by private people as well as the which have been established for profit maximization. So now in this lecture, we learn how to create more and more employment opportunities in our country. So in which sector we can provide more and more employment opportunities, because in our previous topic we have been learned about organized and unorganized workers. Before that we have been learned about employment opportunities and employment in our country in private, secondary and tertiary sector. Now we will be learning how to create more employment. Say we take the example of primary sector first. We have been discussed about Mr. X, 2 acres of land. So how he can get more and more employment with this 2 acres of land? The only thing we can do is by providing the irrigation facilities to his agricultural land. If there is a water, then he can, along with him, even all the other 4 members of the family also can be engaged full time in that particular land. They can produce more and more crops which they can sell in the market and they can earn more money and they can have a better living. The first thing is development of irrigation facilities. And second thing is establishment of some of the industries in the rural areas. What type of industries? We have agro-based industries. The industry which completely depends on agriculture for their raw material. If such type of industries are established in rural areas, people in off seasons when they don't get work or when they don't have work in the agricultural sector, at that time they'll be engaged or they'll be employed in this particular secondary sector or that particular industries, so that they need not to migrate to some other faraway place by leaving their native place, and the migrants in the cities and towns also can be controlled by establishing industries in the rural areas. And second thing is by providing basic education to the people about the industries as well as the other sectors, by introducing different types of vocational courses, like which is important for them immediately in the industrial sector, like operating of machines, tools and many other knowledge creating or awareness creating courses need to be introduced. And second thing is by establishing more and more industries. If an area, if you take example of India, some of the areas are very dry. That means agriculturally they are not rich. So that type of areas need to be selected by the government and they need to establish that areas or develop that area industrially, so that this area can be developed industrially and more people can get employment. So the regional disparities also can be removed and the migration also can be controlled. And next thing what we have is, if you see, one of the people from Telangana region will be migrating to other states, nearby states like Maharashtra, Karnataka and other parts. If Telangana region, wherever we have the drought prone areas where we have scarcity of water, in that areas, if we develop these industrial sector like special economic zones, SEZs, so that their people can be employed with the opportunities and then the migrants can be avoided or controlled. And second thing is, we can provide more and more employment in education sector by establishing more and more schools. If we pay attention towards the education sector and by establishing number of schools and the required number of schools, every year we can provide employment for more than 20 lakh people in the educational sector. Along with education, even in health sector also, even in the hospitality also, we can provide more and more employment by establishing more and more PHCs as well as community health centers, CHCs as well as PHCs. We can provide employment in that. Apart from this education and health, the third most important thing is tourism. Because in our country, we have lot many places. If we develop tourism in our country, in an year, near about more than 35 lakh people can be employed and they can survive their life with the development in the tourism. So nowadays, even you might have been observed, even in TVs we get ads about different states, their cultures and many other things. So even we have brand ambassadors like maybe cine stars or maybe cricket stars to promote the tourism of each and every state. So we have that also, that program is also going on. If the tourism is developed, near about 35 lakh people can be survived with the employment opportunities. So by providing employment opportunities and many other things, the government can take many initiations and it can develop the country as well as the employment opportunities where the poverty can be removed. More and more people comes above the poverty line from BPL, that is below poverty line. And based on this only, I remember very well, in the year of 2005, the government of India has been launched a program which is called as NREGA. We call in short form as NREGA. That is National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. According to this, at the beginning stage, they have introduced only 150 districts. Later on, another 100 districts have been added into this. Total now at present 250 districts of our country are included in this program. That is NREGA, NREGA, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. According to this scheme, government will be providing employment for the people in the rural areas, in their own areas, for 100 days of work in an year. 100 days not at a time, but according to the need and requirement. In the dry season, they provide work for 100 days in an year. If government fails to provide work for 100 days, they provided work for 50 days. Another 50 days they are unable to provide work. So at that time, the 50 days money also will be paid to the workers as a unemployment compensation to the workers from the government side. This is what the scheme which has been introduced by the Indian government in the year of 2005, that we call as NREGA or NREGA. With this topic, we conclude the lesson production and management. Thank you very much.